Hey, welcome back. We have an update to a story we brought you last week after women across the country began receiving these strange cards, pregnancy cards from a Utah company. But the only issue, a lot of those women were not pregnant.
Yeah, and it basically left us wondering, how in the world did this Utah company get their information? What was the background behind this? Now, Katie Kia, you covered this for us. You got a lot of comments.
Yes,
people saying, it happened to me. You even had a personal experience.
Yeah, it's true. My wife had got one of those cards.
How crazy is that?
So, yeah, tell us about it.
It's bizarre, for sure. I mean, it's also kind of cute, right? Those cute little avocado cards.
Right.
But there's a lot more to them. So I did reach out to the company, and when we did the story originally, they hadn't responded back. But I have a response back from them, and they tell me that the addresses that they had were actually bought from a third-party company. So, I mean, it's your typical kind of marketing situation. So what they did is anyone on that list had either maybe bought a more like pregnancy related toy, or it could have been something completely unrelated, and they just kind of got swiped into that demographic of what they're trying to sell. And then they just sent them to the masses, just kind of mailed them out on that list.
Wow.
And what's the idea? Because when we got ours, it was like a bunch of gift cards.
Right.
And that you had to redeem, but in order to redeem them, you have to spend this much money. And my wife didn't end up doing it at all, so I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah, so the idea, I think, is just to kind of get the information out to as many people as possible. And even if you aren't pregnant, maybe that is you're buying a gift for someone else, or you're thinking of buying maybe a similar product. And that's probably the situation for that category, but it opens up a bigger conversation of this possibility that someone could just get your information and they could just start sending junk mail, junk emails. I mean, we've seen it before, and it's a little unsettling for some people. I know one of the girls was like, this is my parents' address. I haven't lived here for years. How do they have my information?
Right.
It makes me kind of nervous. So I think it's a little unsettling for some people, definitely.
Are there any tips for people to kind of keep out of situations like this, or is this just basically how the world works these days? You give your information to one person, and then you get spammed by a bunch of other companies.
Yeah, so there's definitely some tips. So the Federal Trade Commission, they have a couple tips for us to kind of keep our information safe. But how it works first is they're called lead generators. So what basically happens is these generators of information bring in all of people's mailing addresses and email and all of that personal information, and then they sell it to smaller companies who then reuse that list. So that list could be pretty old, and that's probably the case for this situation for people who haven't lived out their address for a long time. But some things to help keep you safe in this type of situation is definitely do your research. You want to make sure whoever you're buying from is a legit company. So always do your research, and when you do research, look keywords for like complaint or maybe review, and those will pull up all of the information you need to know before you make that purchase. The second thing you need to do is always double check before you submit your payment for anything, even if it's not something that you do all the time. Just double check and make sure that your financial and personal information, this is who you're wanting to send it to. And then finally, if a situation like this does happen and you feel like it is a little bit sketchy, you can always reach out to the FTC and they'll look further into it for you.
And with a simple Google search with Better Business Bureau,
Yes.
this company had, what, an F rating?
An F rating. And that's all. I mean, I had to type in the company's name, and that was one of the first searches that came up. And so that's pretty quick, a pretty quick to do thing. I mean, we all have Google on our phones. It just takes 2 seconds to look it up.
So really no way to prevent it from happening to you, but there is a way to prevent getting, maybe be sucked into something that you weren't really planning on doing.
Right, yeah. But it can be scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of this information.
Perfect. Katie, thank you so much.
you're
We
welcome.
appreciate it.